If you drink coffee, brace yourself, because your morning cup is about to get a whole lot more expensive. Thanks to Trump's new tariffs, the price of coffee in the United States has surged to nearly $14 per pound at some Walmart stores, which is about double what shoppers were paying just last year. The tariffs, which took effect on August 1, 2025, slapped an additional 40% duty on top of the existing 10% for certain countries, including Brazil, one of the world's largest coffee exporters. That's a total of up to 50% in tariffs, and the effects have hit store shelves almost instantly. The 6 top-selling coffee brands at Walmart, including household names like Folgers, Maxwell House, and Dunkin, have all doubled in price. For shoppers, the increases didn't come all at once. Prices rose in small waves, making the shock more noticeable at the checkout counter or when tallying up monthly grocery costs. The biggest factor driving these price spikes is the cost of imported beans. Most popular blends use Arabica and Robusta beans grown in Brazil and other Latin American countries, and tariffs have sent those raw material prices soaring. On top of that, international shipping costs have jumped due to higher fuel prices, longer routes, and increased insurance rates, adding thousands of dollars to each shipment. Walmart, despite its buying power, can't negotiate much relief from these global cost pressures, leaving both the retailer and shoppers feeling the squeeze. One of the clearest examples is Folgers Classic Roast, which has been a Walmart staple for decades. In August 2025, its price nearly doubled, and more than 40% of regular coffee buyers noticed the change immediately. Loyal customers, especially middle-aged and older shoppers who stick to familiar brands, are now facing tough choices. Some have switched to cheaper instant coffee, while others are cutting back entirely. Reddit threads in communities like r Walmart and inflation have lit up with frustration, with users pointing directly to Trump's tariffs as the reason behind the sudden jump. Some market analysts warn that if this shift toward cheaper coffee alternatives continues, brands like Folgers could lose a chunk of their loyal customer base that has sustained them for decades. And the ripple effects go beyond grocery store shelves. Local coffee shops are warning customers that a $3 latte could soon cost $4.50 or more as they pass along the increased cost of beans. U.S. coffee buyers are already delaying imports from Brazil, leading to a reported 28% drop in shipments in July alone. While some hope that legal challenges to the tariffs, judges have questioned whether they exceed presidential authority, could eventually bring relief, there's no guarantee it will happen quickly. Until then, your daily caffeine fix is becoming more of a luxury than a habit, and for millions of Americans, that's going to leave a bitter taste. Walmart's push to keep prices high in order to protect its profit margins is creating an opening for competitors to swoop in with aggressive low-price campaigns aimed at stealing market share. Financial analysts see this as a warning sign that Trump's new tariffs are beginning to impact everyday essentials in a serious way. When a household staple like Folgers Classic Roast gets hit this hard, it raises the question, how many other products will follow the same path? And if shipping tariffs and supply chain problems don't ease, could prices climb even higher from here? That's the big uncertainty facing millions of shoppers. Can people keep buying the way they always have, or will they be forced to adapt to a new, more expensive reality? Many are already confronting that choice after watching Folgers' price at Walmart hit record highs. Next on the list is Great Value, Walmart's own budget-friendly coffee brand. For years, it's been the safety net for coffee drinkers looking to save money without giving up their daily caffeine fix. But since early August 2025, even Great Value coffee has nearly doubled in price compared to the same time last year. This is surprising because Great Value isn't tied to premium beans like the big-name brands, it often sources cheaper beans from emerging markets. But the new import tariffs don't discriminate, they apply across the board, regardless of quality. That means even low-cost beans have gotten more expensive, wiping out the brand's biggest advantage almost overnight. Private label products like Great Value usually run on razor-thin margins, keeping costs tightly controlled. But when raw materials, packaging, and shipping all spike at the same time, Walmart faces a choice, either take a profit hit or raise prices. The company chose the latter, and now Great Value coffee is priced at, and in some cases above, mid-tier national brands. That's something that's never happened before. Internal Walmart data shows sales of Great Value coffee dropped sharply within the second week after the price increase. Loyal budget shoppers quickly switched to cheaper options like single-serve instant coffee packets or even barley and grain-based coffee substitutes. This sudden shift shows just how price-sensitive Great Value's core customers are. Once the low price is gone, their loyalty often disappears with it. Meanwhile, local coffee roasters and regional grocery chains have wasted no time stepping in. Many have launched their own private label blends priced 10% to 15% lower than Great Value, pulling in bargain hunters who might have been Walmart regulars. This competitive pressure forces Walmart to rethink its pricing strategy. Without the cheapest coffee title, Great Value is left competing on other factors like flavor, brand trust, and convenience, turning what used to be a one-tier budget market into a much more competitive battlefield. What many shoppers don't realize is that the same pattern could spread to other Walmart store brand products. That kind of skepticism could snowball, forcing Walmart to roll out big promotions or ad campaigns just to keep its customer base from drifting away. The big question now is whether great value can ever roll prices back down. With tariffs still in place and shipping costs remaining high, the short-term outlook doesn't look promising. Some customers may slowly adjust to the higher price, but others may leave for good. And if a brand built on being cheap has to double its price, it's a warning that no grocery staple, no matter how basic, is safe from the ripple effects of trade policy. Dunkin Original Blend has long been a sweet spot in Walmart's coffee aisle, a mid-priced option that delivered coffee shop taste without the coffee shop bill. But since Trump's new tariffs hit in August 2025, Dunkin has been one of the hardest hit brands, with prices nearly doubling in just 2 months. Much of that is tied to its sourcing. Dunkin relies almost entirely on 100% Arabica beans from Central and South America, regions now facing steep U.S. import taxes. Unlike competitors that mix in cheaper beans to offset costs, Dunkin refuses to compromise on its flavor profile, which means there's almost no room to cut expenses. The price surge is already changing shopping behavior. Sales data from several East Coast states shows loyal Dunkin buyers scaling back, opting for smaller 12-ounce bags instead of stocking up on 24 or 36-ounce sizes. It's a clear sign that price sensitivity is kicking in. And the shift has created an opening for new challengers. A handful of coffee brands from Canada and Europe have begun popping up on Walmart shelves, offering high-quality Arabica at lower prices in a bid to scoop up customers drifting away from Dunkin. The problem for Dunkin is that this isn't just about retail coffee, its identity spans both grocery shelves and coffee shops. Now that Walmart prices are creeping into Starbucks territory, some customers are realizing there's barely a difference between brewing Dunkin at home and buying a cup at Starbucks. Strategically, Dunkin faces a tough choice: take a hit on profit margins to regain its price edge, or lean into elevating its brand experience to justify the higher cost. Either move comes with risks, and with bean prices unlikely to drop soon, returning to the old price point may be off the table. This shift raises a bigger question for the entire mid-range coffee market. If Dunkin now lives in Starbucks' price bracket, what's left to differentiate the two? As the price gap between coffee segments narrows, shoppers may choose based on brand loyalty and experience rather than affordability, a trend that could permanently change how Americans buy and drink coffee at home. Café Bustelo is facing a different but equally serious challenge. Known for its bold, intense flavor and deep cultural ties, especially within the Latino community, it's not an everyday mainstream brand like Folgers or Great Value, but a coffee with a devoted fan base. Most of its high-quality Robusta and dark-roasted Arabica beans come from the Caribbean and South America, areas now heavily impacted by the new tariffs. For a brand built on richness and authenticity, swapping in cheaper beans or diluting the blend would be a betrayal of its identity. That leaves only one path: absorb the higher costs and pass them on to consumers. The result? In regions where Café Bustelo has a strong following, Walmart prices have soared by as much as 85% in just a few months. Shoppers who once bought bulk packs are now scaling back to single cans or waiting for sales. Even longtime loyalists are adjusting their habits, a red flag for any brand. But with Café Bustelo, the impact goes beyond sales figures. Because it's tied so closely to cultural tradition, the price hikes create an emotional ripple effect in the communities that embrace it. When the coffee people grew up with suddenly feels like a luxury, it's more than just inflation, it's a shift in how people connect with a product that's part of their daily life and heritage. In Latino community forums and across social media, Café Bustelo's price surge has become a lightning rod for frustration. Many see it as proof that tariffs aren't just hitting the economy, they're striking at cultural traditions. That perception creates an extra layer of pressure on both Walmart and the brand's producers. For Walmart, the dilemma is clear: keep Café Bustelo on the shelves despite shrinking margins and softening demand, or scale back its presence and risk backlash from loyal customers. Neither option is simple when shipping costs, import taxes, and currency swings are all moving in the wrong direction. And Bustelo isn't just fending off other Latin coffee labels, it's now facing competition from global brands out of Colombia, Brazil, and even Europe, all marketing authentic single-origin beans at slightly lower prices to lure away its customer base. If this trend holds, Café Bustelo could lose its position as the go-to Latin coffee in the US. The bigger story here is that tariffs don't just raise prices, they can erode decades of brand loyalty in a matter of months. Once prices cross the pain threshold, even the most devoted customers may start to reconsider their habits. Without a clear recovery plan, the brand risks not only a short-term sales hit but also a long-term loss of market dominance. For consumers, the choice is tough: pay more to keep the flavor and heritage they love, or move to a cheaper alternative. And if the worst happens, if Café Bustelo vanishes from Walmart shelves or gets replaced, it won't just be a small change in the coffee aisle. For many, it would feel like losing a piece of their cultural identity. Maxwell House, on the other hand, is facing a challenge that's less about cultural ties and more about scale. For generations, it's been the definition of everyday American coffee, with its "good to the last drop" slogan etched into memory. But under the pressure of new tariffs, the brand now faces the classic trade-off: keep prices steady by cutting quality, or protect quality and raise prices. Walmart has clearly opted for the latter, and the backlash has been swift. Because Maxwell House appeals to such a wide audience, any price hike reverberates far beyond a niche market. Today, a large can cost nearly double what it did a year ago, hitting weekly grocery budgets hard. For decades, Maxwell House leaned on massive production runs and bulk bean purchases from South America and Africa to keep costs low. Those advantages evaporated when tariffs forced the renegotiation of import contracts, sending costs sharply higher. The problem is, Maxwell House serves a price-sensitive customer base, the type that's quickest to jump ship when prices spike. And the data shows it's already happening. Shoppers are downsizing from big value cans to smaller ones, or only buying during sales. That change not only hurts steady revenue but also drives up packaging and shipping costs per unit, squeezing margins even further. In regions like the South and Midwest, Walmart stores are reporting unusually high stock levels of Maxwell House, signaling hesitation from shoppers. Many are switching to cheaper national brands or Walmart's own private label options, which could chip away at Maxwell House's market share. If the trend continues, the brand will need more than a price adjustment, it will need a strategic reset to hold onto its place in America's coffee culture. From a competitive perspective, Maxwell House is feeling heat from rivals who sense an opening. International brands that aren't as dependent on heavily taxed bin sources are slipping in with slightly lower prices, just enough to tempt buyers already hesitant about Maxwell House's higher costs. And here's the danger: once a customer tries an alternative and finds it good enough, the likelihood they'll return drops sharply. That's a long-term threat Walmart and Maxwell House can't afford to underestimate. The brand now faces a crossroads. Cutting quality to lower costs risks damaging its reputation, but holding the line on quality means keeping prices elevated, likely for the foreseeable future, given there's no clear end to the tariff pressure. The decision boils down to this: protect market share at the expense of margins, or let some customers walk away in order to keep profitability intact. For shoppers, the Maxwell House price hike is about more than coffee, it's about whether their daily rituals can survive in a volatile economy. If even a mainstream staple is being swept up in this tariff storm, the question becomes, what isn't? The answer may be quietly appearing in their grocery receipts over the next few months. Starbucks, meanwhile, plays in a different league, but the tariffs have still landed a hit. More than a brand, Starbucks has sold itself as an experience, a moment of indulgence, a familiar vibe, and a taste you can rely on. That identity depends on premium Arabica beans sourced from South America and East Africa, exactly the regions hit hardest by the new tariffs. And while Starbucks' customer base is generally less price-sensitive, even loyal fans take notice when prices spike 40% to 80% in under a year. At Walmart, the impact is plain. A bag of Pike Place roast or breakfast blend now costs as much, or more, than a sit-down lunch. But unlike some competitors, Starbucks can't simply swap in cheaper beans without breaking the promise of flavor consistency that underpins its brand. That no-compromise philosophy makes it especially vulnerable to cost shocks. Consumer behavior is already shifting. Instead of grabbing their usual £1 bag, many shoppers are opting for smaller packages or waiting for short-lived promotions. This reduces the average sale per transaction and complicates Starbucks' distribution math. If the pattern holds, even the premium segment, once thought immune, will need to rethink how to maintain loyalty when the price of a simple morning ritual starts competing with an entire meal. Smaller orders are creating a ripple effect for Starbucks, and not in a good way. When customers buy less at a time, storage and transportation costs per pound rise, which pushes retail prices even higher. That leaves Starbucks stuck between two tough choices: maintain its premium image or lose ground to agile competitors like Peet's Coffee and Lavazza, which can be more flexible with sourcing and pricing. Some Walmart shoppers have already tested the waters with these alternatives, and many are finding the flavor good enough for a noticeably lower price. For Starbucks, that's a red flag. Launching a cheaper product line could undermine the brand's hard-earned prestige, but keeping prices high risks turning it into a special occasion luxury rather than a daily ritual. The real question is whether Starbucks will double down on its core identity and accept a smaller market share, or innovate in a way that keeps quality intact while adapting to a tariff-driven economy. Either way, the effects will be felt most clearly in the coffee aisle, right in the bags customers carry home from Walmart. From Folgers Classic Roast to Starbucks Pike Place, the lesson is the same: tariffs don't just hit luxury imports. They can seep into everyday habits for millions of Americans. When prices nearly double, every purchase becomes a tug-of-war between quality, brand loyalty, and staying within budget. Some brands are sticking to their standards and accepting fewer customers, while others quietly shrink package sizes or explore new suppliers. And for shoppers, the big unknown remains: is this a temporary spike or the new normal? In a world of unstable costs, it's a question every coffee drinker will have to answer for themselves. If this breakdown made you rethink what's in your cart, join the conversation in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next independent deep dive into the trends shaping your wallet and your daily life.